The AI economy isn't built on thin air. The AI economy isn't built on thin air. It runs on glowing blue pixels. On infrastructure. It runs on power. On reliable data. On infrastructure. And most importantly, data. On people. And most importantly, a culture where research collides with risk-taking. A culture where research collides with risk-taking and relentless innovation. That full stack. And in Pittsburgh, that full stack is in our DNA. Where grit meets we carry a legacy where grit meets energy. From the first sparks of steel to the steady pulse of nuclear, of natural gas, to the all-time high demand of natural gas. Because Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania offers what others can't. Direct access to the toughest real-world problems in energy, healthcare, manufacturing, and defense. Problems worth solving. Billion-dollar companies. Problems that forge billion-dollar companies. And the next generation of industry titans. Just as Andrew Carnegie once did. This is the summit where vision meets muscle, where top researchers collide with top makers, doers, and deployers. Where championship grit collides with the intelligence of AI. The new AI economy starts here.
AI Horizons guests, please welcome to the stage President and CEO of Alcoa Corporation, William Opplinger, co-founder and CEO of Gecko Robotics, Jake Lucerarian, and Managing Director, Head of Applied Tech at JP Morgan Commercial Banking, Justin Kraus.
I want us to sit.
You sit in the middle, man.
You can sit here?
You be in the middle?
Perfect.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. The lights are exceptionally bright here. I don't know what you guys think, but
they are.
These guys run companies, so the lights are always bright for you guys. How are you guys doing today? Pretty good?
Good.
Very good. So thanks everybody for coming, and especially for the incredible energy here over the last day and a half. It's a pretty exciting time here in Pittsburgh, and I couldn't be more happy to be here with these two guys for more than a couple reasons. We're gonna have a great conversation. One of which is we've got iconic companies in different ways. An iconic company founded in 1888, where Pittsburgh was probably the most entrepreneurial place, maybe in the world.
I think it was the epicenter of the world, probably in 1890, 1900. I mean, with the steel and the oil and then aluminum was the epicenter of the world.
Yep. So 1888, and I will just say, quick one JP Morgan piece. In 1901, John Pierpont Morgan bought Carnegie Steel from Andrew Carnegie and put together U.S. Steel. So that's the slight JP Morgan connection here. Now we have a new iconic Pittsburgh company founded in 2013, a little bit after 1888, but hopefully bringing on a whole new path of making Pittsburgh.
It felt like 150 years. So.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so welcome guys. Thanks so much. Okay, so this is part of what makes Pittsburgh special. We have companies like this, and the way that AI, look at the newspaper any given day, and you're going to see AI everywhere, right? We're going to talk about AI in the physical world here today, and some really, really exciting things that are going on. But let's start. As we were sort of preparing for this conversation, we had a call. We were talking through, and Bill had this incredible quote about, "Show me how AI will help us. Not someday, but today." So very direct, very much, spoken like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And Jay kind of came back and said, hey, for AI to be measured by ROI, not a speculative bet, right? Show us that ROI. So Bill, could you talk a little bit about that quote and the way you think about AI running the type of company that you run?
Sure. So let me, if you don't mind, let me give you a little bit of background on Alcoa. Founded in 1888. We moved the headquarters back here in 2017. We're a global company. We've got 14,000 people around the world. We work on 6 continents. We make stuff. So we make aluminum. We dig dirt out of the ground, refine it into alumina, and then turn it into aluminum. I had to laugh. I was in Australia a couple weeks ago, met with the CEO of an emerging AI company, and asked him how his company would be valued once they came out of the private markets. And he said it was a very reasonable valuation. They would be valued at about 25 times revenue. Now, if just to bookend the conversation here, we traded about a 0.7 to revenue. So if I could get a 1 to revenue, I'd be really happy. Why do I tell you all that? Well, I tell you all that is because we make a commodity. Our commodity in the commodity space, you have to be low cost. And so whatever we're looking at, whenever we make an investment, be it in physical equipment or in AI, we are looking at what type of a return do we get. And I would challenge you, everybody in this audience, if you're going to be selling to old line industrial companies, they're going to want to know what's the return, how quickly do I get it, how much money do I put in at the front end, and how much physical benefit do I get out the back end. Whether that's cost savings, whether that's quality control, whether that's new products and higher sales, but that's what industrial companies are going to ask you to prove very quickly before they make the big leap into AI.
Excellent. Jake, thoughts on this idea of showing the ROI and sort of AI, selling to companies like Bill's?
Yeah, I think Bill's right, and I also think that the reason why the valuation differential is such with an AI company out of Australia and a commodity is that you want to play unfair games, and I think AI provides the opportunity to play an unfair game. 0 to 1, Peter Thiel, he was my Series A investor. And the reason why he invested is because he only bets on really great founders that are looking to play non-competitive games. And so this is why there's justification to the valuations. However, the MIT study that just came out shows that a lot of these bets are for naught. So 95% of the AI companies produce 0 ROI on a proof of value or an initial use case, is what the study describes. Now, there's been $400 billion of VC investment over the past 4 years into AI companies. Not a great return. However, there is still a bunch of optimism because of those examples of a lot of ROI coming from those specific companies. And then the question is just like, okay, what's different? And the big difference that we found is that there are companies that masquerade as being very high impact and sell a bill of goods sold to Bill, and Bill will look at the actual value and say this is bullshit, and I'm not gonna be fooled or strong armed into buying into something that I just don't see the value in. And I think that's based on first principles, and he's running a company based on first principles, and I think we are able to get hyped about artificial intelligence because of massive capital that's being thrown at companies. When I started my company, I had my bank account, and that's what I built the company off of. And I went completely broke off of that. So for 3 years, I bootstrapped it. And then because of being able to provide actual impact to power plants, I got an acquisition offer, got an offer from YC, was able to build the company that we have today, and it's growing a lot. And I think it's, these first principles and doing the hard thing first is the really important topic that me and Bill are here to talk about today.
So, but it sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying like you view AI as a lot of hype right now. Is that fair? Or is that
the impact of AI will change everything. I do believe that. It is the way that we get there to be a predetermined destination that will just happen is the thing that I vehemently disagree and fight violently against. Because if we don't approach artificial intelligence by doing the hard things first, we just had the folks from Skilled up here. What they're talking about is important. What the approach that Gecko has is the manifestation of that principle, and that is you go out into the real world and you get real information and data that hasn't existed before in the physical world. The fourth industrial revolution never happened. It did not digitally transform. Therefore, you do not have the the framework to be able to leverage artificial intelligence to transform everything in the physical world. Makes complete sense. And so there is transformative change that will happen and is going to happen because these engines, these models are incredible. But if you don't have fuel to put inside of your Ferrari won't move. And so that is the fundamental principle that through blood, sweat, tears, and running into the facilities like Bill has, we've been able to prove out, and that's why we're growing.
So data is as important as algorithm.
Data, yeah. I actually recently just got in an argument with Eric Schmidt about this in Geneva.
Jake goes to the top for the record. So
Eric believes in this idea that algorithms are vastly more important than data because he's coming from an environment where these models, in the fight for the best models, are the determiner. These are the people that are getting the $100 million Facebook offers. But I think this assumption that the data will just exist and is going to be there for us to train these algorithms is a foolhardy assumption. It's very hard to gather this information and data. And by the way, a lot of the information and data lives in the incredible heads of those that power our society, that build the aluminum that Bill sells to us to be able to build this world, to be able to run these power plants. My God, there is a big problem happening because of the amount of people retiring 4 to 1 in terms of people who are hired or who leave and who are hired. This is a big issue, and there is a crap ton of data and those people's heads. When they walk into a facility, they can hear something, they can touch something, they can smell something, and that tells them everything they need to know about how well that thing's running.
Could you talk about that? It's interesting. You're running this massive global business. There's a lot of data that's potential to be captured, but how do you, when you hear him talk about that and the amount of data you have to leverage AI, what do you think?
I think Jake's spot on, right? So I think that there is a massive amount of data in our systems that goes back decades in some instances. The real difficult part about that is getting it in the right format to be able to utilize it. And interesting, you didn't ask my opinion, you got Schmidt's opinion, but I would think that and I'm way out over my skis here, but I would think at some point the algorithms get commoditized. And the data is kind of like the bauxite in the ground, right? The data, when I look at the value of our value chain, I really think the value is in what cannot be replicated, which is the bauxite in the ground, right? And to me, that's what the data looks like. And that is, if you have that data available to you, you can make something out of it. And it would seem like the algorithms will get commoditized over time. But and then when I consider one of the challenges that we have as a company, we call ourselves Alcoans, right? We have Alcoans that have been with the company 30 and 40 years, and that knowledge walks out the door every day. And so as I look at AI, I would like to be able to see AI be able to capture that knowledge and allow it to be used by the next generation. You said, hey, you go down to Brazil, our plant in Brazil, and you've worked in our plant in Brazil, your company's worked in our plant in Brazil, and there are folks there that literally can tell how well the plant's running by the look, the smell, the feel. And how do you capture that and be able to use it in the future?
Incredible. And I mean, just for everybody to hear that, talking a little bit about the relationship that you guys have, but as a multi-generational Pittsburgher, hearing two Pittsburgh companies working together in Brazil is pretty cool.
Now, there's a funny story. Our JP Morgan contact put us together, and it turns out that I guess I wasn't aware that we had already been working together for years. So our JP Morgan contact, connected the two of us just to have a get to know between a couple of folks in Pittsburgh, and we've been working together for years.
And we did not prompt Bill to say that for the record, everybody.
No,
that was unsolicited. Thank you, Bill, very much. So why don't we talk for a second, whether it's Brazil or other, I'd love to hear about some use cases from you as you think about AI transforming this company that is, 1888. Would love to share.
Sure. So I made this pitch about, hey, you've got to be able to show a return on investment. The piece that I didn't really talk about is and Jake knows this, I still worry a little bit that there will be massive winners and losers in the AI race. And I worry that we may end up on the loser side of that. So while we are very pragmatic around how we spend money, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is there a disruptor to the aluminum industry? And is that disruptor out there working in a setting like this that is completely non-traditional? So I don't know how to address that concern, but that's something that's in the back of my mind. When we look at use cases, we've got around 70 use cases currently around the world. And they vary highly from, and I'm not going to even talk about kind of the daily work that we do with like a Microsoft Copilot, but they vary from safety systems, trying to really, as an industrial company, one of our key metrics is how safe are our facilities, and really trying to anticipate where is the next safety problem across the globe. All the way to a very cool use case. And if you allow me to diverge just a little bit, we're going through a public comment period to get our approvals in Western Australia. We've got around 6,000 comments that have come in, and we have 8 weeks to turn around those comments, and we have to personally address every single comment that's made in those 6,000 comments. And the starting point there is hundreds of thousands of pages of data for these environmental approvals. So you can imagine the Herculean task to address 6,000 comments accurately. So we're using an AI front end that will take a pass at the first response based on tens of thousands of pages of background data. Imagine that. To me, that's super cool, right? It's going to allow us to meet that 8-week deadline. And you still have, this is about the extent of the jargon that I know, you still have the human in the loop there to see.
Well, that
was good, wasn't it?
25 times revenue.
Yeah, that should get us 25 times revenue right there. We still have the human in the loop who has to then do the final sign off. And then as we determine that the AI is good or not good at answering the questions, we feed that back into the model. And so then over the course of 8 weeks, the model's going to get spectacular. That's just a single use case that has a return that's immediate. And we're talking about on our approvals, which are massively important for the company. So that's an example of how we're using AI.
Incredible. Jake, the incredible projects. I mean, we could spend the rest of the day talking about the things you're doing. Any that you could point out that you want to share with the folks here?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot. We're talking a lot about like measurable impact of ROI, like building the company the hard old way, not with $1 billion in your pocket. And I think that like maybe I'll walk you through a journey with Alcoa. With Alcoa, we started in Brazil gathering information and data about the structural integrity of the most critical component of one of their factories, one of their mills, integrated mills, and that is on evaluating the health of their boilers. This was a while ago. Was able to do so in a way that was eliminating $1 million worth of scaffolding, I think it was. Was able to do it in like a week, evaluate this whole facility, opposed to 3 weeks to evaluate. The data point gathering was like on the order of I don't know if it was 5 million or 6 million X what they have typically done. Was able to do so safely with.
Don't forget the safety part.
Oh yeah.
When you're eliminating scaffolding like that, you're eliminating people on scaffolding,
yes,
which takes them out of the line of fire, which for us is critically important in addition to the cost savings. But go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah. In this world, this is safety. I mean, these are. I started the company because someone died doing this job.
Yep.
So that's where we started. And then when you have all the information and data, what you're able to do is evaluate exactly where to pinpoint the repairs so you don't have these big shutdowns. Is that AI? No, that's not AI.
Yeah.
You're just gathering information and data using a pretty smart robot. And then you're evaluating all this information data. Where the AI begins to come in is how do you evaluate all those data points to see what's good and what's bad, what kinds of indications are they showing you in terms of root cause, and then where to repair so you extend the useful life of the asset. That's where we started. Now, what's begun to happen is with accounts, and right now this is not the account we have with Alcoa, and what's beginning to happen is once you begin to understand the health of the most critical assets, of which there are thousands of assets at these facilities, you get an interesting data layer that has never existed before about the health of these structures. Once you understand the health of these structures, you begin to have a platform and an ontology that if you want to onboard other sorts of information and data sets as it relates to vibration of pumps and motors and understanding the performance of those, as well as IoT sensors that already exist at these facilities, well then, that's an incredible ability now to be able to pull in health data and operational data to optimize how that system is performing. If you want to know what AI is doing, and if it's having any impact, ask the big AI companies, ask Dara from Anthropic, what have you done, Dara, to actually reduce a day of turnaround at a refinery? Have you stopped a forced outage at an aluminum manufacturing facility? What have you done to create more kilowatts at a power plant? These are the kinds of questions that we should be asking and interrogating AI companies with. Is it successful? Well, show me the pragmatic impact. If you aren't doing these things, if you aren't saving lives of these folks that are helping the world go around, then don't give me all this. We need more energy for AI. We need AI to help create energy. And that's the question that I don't, we don't talk about that here. We talk about it in the boardroom.
Right.
We talk about it executive to executive, and this is why you don't have the adoption. This is why I'm very nervous about America's overhyping and not asking these sorts of questions. Where does the data come from? Is it reliable? And these are the things that make me nervous about a potential race with China as it relates to artificial intelligence, the adoption that they'll have and the adoption that we'll have. You just cannot, you can't have the transformative change if you don't do the hard things. And so that's the companies that, as Bill was saying, are going to be the ones that take over, are the ones that begin to see that they can have large advantages on their in their margins, how much they can create for how much they're going to spend. And the impact we're able to have is not just extending the useful life of assets or preventing catastrophic failures and explosions at facilities. It's we're actually helping people produce more, improve heat rates at power plants. These are the case studies now that we have. And so, my goodness, the kinds of impacts you can have, you can improve those kinds of things, will differentiate huge winners and losers, and it will change fundamentally what the Fortune 500 looks like.
Another use case, and since when Jake was talking there, another use case that we're currently using AI for is when you make aluminum, you have these cells that make, each pot makes a certain amount of aluminum. And if you can anticipate a disruption in that cell, and if you can anticipate it by 1 minute, it only takes 1 minute, we can fix it. We can fix the problem, right? So the control system, if the control system knows that there's going to be a problem in that cell, the control system will take action in advance of that problem. Right now, when there's a problem in the cell, the control system fixes it after it occurs. But if you can do it 1 minute ahead of time, you can save tens of thousands of dollars, and in addition to that, you eliminate greenhouse gas emissions. Now, that's really cool, right? Because one, we get to take credit for elimination of greenhouse gas, but this happens to be in a country that will pay you for the elimination of greenhouse gas. So every ton that you emit is worth a certain amount of money, and it saves us money directly. So it's a really fantastic use case.
And just for everybody here who obviously has a vested interest in AI, what AI means, I think the most, and I have this position where I'm seeing, sort of AI and innovation across the country and to a degree across the world with the business I run. What they're talking about is such a unique, vitally important use case. And vitally important because if his company could be more efficient in what they do, obviously it helps the bottom line, helps shareholders, all the stuff that Bill wants to do. There's the other implications. One is the worker, and Jake, you just alluded to it, like people, being injured on the job, right, and potentially losing their life, and the ability that a lot of these tools have. That is an impact that we're seeing, and that folks like Jake are bringing that are massively important, obviously, to Bill's business. Safety. So I think the other thing that it would be interesting to touch on, maybe just a second, because we've seen a very dangerous world recently, specifically geopolitically. You know, you look at what happened in Poland this week, and you think about sort of what that means, you know, in the eastern side of NATO, and how critical, for instance, this company is in aluminum production is to our war efforts. Like, could you talk about like sort of national security implications for?
Sure. You know, we are, as I said, we're truly a global company. We have operations on 6 continents. We used to be known as the Aluminum Company of America. We changed our name to Alcoa because we weren't really the Aluminum Company of America. We have remaining no bauxite mines in the United States because the bauxite's gone. Refining of bauxite is limited to a very small refinery, so there's only one of those left, and there's only 4 smelters, 2 of which are ours. So aluminum is critically important to defense of any country. And so as I am talking to people in Washington, just trying to make sure that they understand that the supply chains that we have around the world are truly global supply chains. And while we may want to reshore aluminum production as much as possible, number one, there's no bauxite left. Number two, it will require a massive amount of electricity to reshore production of aluminum smelting in the United States. Put that in perspective, I think we had Dan Sumner here yesterday from Westinghouse. We need 6 of his world-class reactors just to power the aluminum that would have to come back onshore. In addition to that, we are looking to pay for about 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Right now, I don't know how many of you know what the data centers are paying, but they're paying 10, 11, 12 cents a kilowatt hour for a 20-year time period. If you're paying 5 or 6 cents a kilowatt hour, you're structurally non-competitive in aluminum, right? So it's a conundrum for the U.S. government. It's a conundrum for the U.S. government because we're unlikely, the industry is unlikely to reshore to the U.S. We must have strong global partners, whether that's Canada, Australia, Brazil, Norway. We have to have strong global partners for this. Are you saying
the economics just won't work at something above 3 cents a kilowatt?
In order to be globally competitive, you need to be at 3 cents a kilowatt. And
does tariffs help off balance that?
It does, but the difficulty with tariffs is you can't count on them, so they can change overnight. And
faster than overnight.
So if we were going to build a smelter in the United States, it's about a $4 billion endeavor. We're an $8 billion market cap today, so it would be a huge bet for us to build a smelter in the U.S. We would not build it based on tariffs, simply because the tariffs can change. What we would build it on is globally competitive energy. And that's 3 cents, 3.5 cents a kilowatt.
This seems to be the thing that we should be challenging, like the Governor Shapiro and I know Senator McCormick's here today. It seems like aluminum being able to be onshore is a national security issue. That seems to be true. At least it was true for steel. It seems as though there are certain parameters that are true in the markets that from a commerce, from a geopolitical standpoint, could help to balance. It seems as though if it's a national security issue, my question is like, Alcoa, based in Pittsburgh, what is the government doing to give as much incentive as possible to you to be able to onshore manufacturing and create facility and an environment, for an incredible company?
It has to be energy. For us, it needs to be energy, and
there you go. It's 6 gigawatts. Is that what the
6 gigawatts?
Okay, 6 gigawatts.
6 gigawatts. In order to bring back 4 million metric tons, you would need around $30 billion. Now, when you throw out a number of $30 billion to the U.S. government, they don't seem to blink. But for us, that's a very big number. And it'll take at a minimum 5 years before the first ton comes out the door. And that's the other thing, is it's beyond an election cycle.
Have you thought about what else you could do to not just sell the aluminum, but to make it into specific parts that you could sell for higher? Instead of selling the material, you actually create parts, whether it's to the government or...
So the aluminum value chain, Alcoa Inc. used to be completely vertically integrated between the mine and the finished product to the customer.
Right.
And we made the strategic choice back in 2016 to break that up. And what we're really good at is mining, refining, and smelting. Our customers are better at making it into something.
So the question I'd maybe ask to like the AI community is, what can you do to help that answer be more economic and you know, to actually be more fully integrated for a customer like Bill? I think, you know, where I see everything going is like those that own the raw materials, just like the ones that own the data, are going to be the most powerful.
That's where I see it too.
And
be the most valuable.
I do believe that like you're going to start seeing those that own the inputs be more in control and being more assertive in the value chain. It's coming, believe me. And I think that AI will be a big component here in helping to accelerate and make the math work. So AI companies out there, get to work.
And
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, well, we don't doubt you, Jay. So we're starting to wind down here. We are in Pittsburgh, and we're obviously very proud here, and with companies like you for good reason. Could you talk for a second, and Jake, maybe I'll start with you. Just when you think of like a Pittsburgh style AI, right? Like what does that term mean to you? Does that mean something? Like,
no, I don't know what that means.
It doesn't.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, you know, second fiddle. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I just see. I mean, yeah, we have great research. Right? I mean, like, yeah. Tell me where the pragmatic, like, impact is, like, for big businesses.
Yeah.
Like, where's the big AI business here?
Right. But
let me jump in.
Yeah.
And sorry to cut you off.
I don't think we should just like all clap and applaud Pittsburgh if we haven't earned it. So I think that's my big contention is just like, damn, like I am excited to clap about how great Pittsburgh is, but it is really important to show results. And I think these kinds of events are great, but it's just like, what sorts of momentum do you get off of them?
Right.
The event that Senator McCormick put on was great. $90 billion committed. Damn, that's great. That's awesome. That provides the opportunity for AI companies to provide pragmatic impact to the companies and the opportunities here. But, you know, it's like, where are the founders?
Yeah.
They're all not here.
Yeah. Good, Bill. Sorry, you jump in?
Yeah, I mean, why is Silicon Valley successful? Why is Silicon Valley successful? Because you have an ecosystem.
Yep.
You have an ecosystem that when there's an idea, and this is the great thing about America still, is that when you have an idea, we tend to overcapitalize it, and people can rush in, and you get something out of it. It may not be exactly what you start with, but in America, we throw a bunch of capital at things, we throw a bunch of people at things, and we end up with something great. May not be exactly what we anticipated.
In America or in SF?
In America, totally.
Okay.
All right, so hear me out.
All right.
I'm going there. Now let's go to Boston. All right, look at Boston. I have a son that works in Boston. He works in AI in biotech, and Boston is a biotech pharma city, and it's because there's an ecosystem, right? And when there's an idea, we throw a bunch of money at it, and something great comes out of it. And the beauty of Boston, in addition, and slightly different than Silicon Valley, is the university system, right? We bring, and don't get me started on a rant, but we bring the best and the brightest in the world into Boston for postgraduate degrees, and then great stuff happens, right? And a lot of times they come to MIT, to Harvard, Boston College, Boston University. They come and we get a lot out of it. The thing about Pittsburgh, I can see a Pittsburgh AI, contrary to what Jake says. And that's because we need to build the ecosystem here. And I think it starts at Carnegie Mellon. I'm a Carnegie Mellon grad, so I'm a little bit biased. But it starts with Carnegie Mellon, where we get the best and brightest in the world here doing AI and robotics. You start spinning out successful companies, and you start to build an ecosystem that when people think AI and robotics, they don't think Boston, they don't think Silicon Valley, they think Pittsburgh.
I think the problem with that is they leave. So hear me.
Why did they leave?
Because of what he said about the hive. The beehive is not here. The jobs, the companies that are the most successful in the world, in the topics that we're talking about, are not based here. They might have an outpost here, but they're not based here. The founders aren't here. The best innovation doesn't happen here. The university, the incredible folks that we attract here, that Dr. Farnham has done an incredible job of building upon the success of the years past. Incredible folks come here, but then they leave. And it's because the jobs and the hives and the opportunities, the amount of companies they could go to and jump around to, as Steve Jobs talks about, and take knowledge from one company to the next and understand and be able to help the entire ecosystem be able to thrive, and capital to be able to come, and then policymakers to be able to see and understand the best and the brightest, that, the weirdos, where do the weirdos go?
Right.
That's where you see like these incredible innovations happen. Now, Paul Graham, who's a Pittsburgh, Murraysville, I believe, native, who founded YC, he wrote an article 10 or 12 years ago talking about Pittsburgh has the opportunity. We have coffee shops, we got the foodies, we got the universities, but damn, the companies aren't coming. Why is that? And the thing that I think that the thing that's, if you ask folks, about what is the identity of the Valley, it is in startups, it's in innovation, it's in these innovative companies that come out of it. If you ask Pittsburghers, what's your identity? It's sports teams, it's steel mills, it's these things. We have, and what's happening right now is quite important. You might think I am not an optimist. I am a large optimist. I am here not because I want to do something out of charity. I'm here because I want to build a huge freaking company.
Yep.
And I want Pittsburgh to be able to have a flywheel of successes. You know how PayPal was able to create a mafia of folks
spun out all
a
sorts
huge
of people.
success in the midst of a huge bubble that burst. It was because they were able to get a huge success out of potential failures that spawned incredible companies off of that mafia. They were able to get return, and for the equity to actually mean something. The equity around Pittsburgh has not meant much yet. The equity packages that were supposed to return large amounts for some of these self-driving companies, they did not return. And so that's what's really important. You have to have these successes, you have to have these big winners, so that there can be a flywheel, so that there's 10 companies that can start off of a big Gecko success, a big IPO, a big Duolingo success, a big Duolingo IPO, a big Skilled, hopefully, success, an IPO. That's how you get a flywheel. And they build it here in Pittsburgh. Now, we have a huge opportunity because of our position right now, because politically we matter. That might not always be the case. And so we also have incredible resources that we have to tap into that fuel the incredible once-in-a-generation opportunity with artificial intelligence. But my goodness, we need aggressive policy. We need aggressive foundation spend. We need aggressive folks from university. We need more dropouts from CMU and less professors starting companies. And I'm telling you, it's really hard to create a transformative company if you don't believe it's all or nothing. If you have tenure to back yourself up on, my goodness, you can fall back on something. If you can't fall back on anything, but man, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. And so I believe in this region. I believe in the talent in the universities. I believe in the opportunities and the access to problems like these problems here. But I need us all to understand that it's not just we can't just say that we are this or we're that without proving it. And we have to have an identity that goes beyond what it was, but what we're going to be. And that's what I'm trying to represent here.
Excellent.
Boy.
How about that? Well, what a way to end. So everybody, and we just gave a round of applause, but thank you so much, Bill and Jake. And look, I think we are lucky in this region to have companies like Alcoa with leaders like Bill, and clearly, Jake, we need more of you. Although I don't know, I've been around a lot. You're the only one I know that out there. But we're so appreciative of these guys. So one more round of applause, and thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake. Well done. Nicely done.